From the highest paved road in North America.
Welcome to the GCN Show.
Welcome to the GCN Show, brought to you by our friends over at Wiggle.
This week, are you addicted to cycling? We look at the telltale signs so that you can see if you need therapy.
We've also got another update as Geraint Thomas continues his transition from cyclist into full-blown rock star, and we've got even more of your amazing weekly inspirational photos. This week in the world of cycling, we learnt that whilst hitting tarmac is nasty, getting yourself tangled up in some barbed wire is far, far worse. Look away right now if you are squeamish. Ouch, ouch. How bad does that look?
Yeah, these are the injuries sustained by Geoffrey Soupe of the Cofidis team at the Tour du Limousin last week, and I mean, man, they look pretty rough. Looks like a tiger's attacked him.
It does. It looks very horrible indeed. This week, we also learned that cycling delivery riders can be incredibly dedicated to their job. In fact, this one decided to take a shortcut down a motorway.
And finally, we learned that a surprisingly large number of you are at risk of addiction to cycling.
Last week, Cycling Weekly linked to a piece of research from Performance in Mind that looks into exercise addiction in endurance athletes. Now, I don't know about you, but when I think about addiction, this isn't top of my list. I think of alcohol or smoking or coffee, in fact.
Yeah, or drugs, but you not normally think about exercise addiction, do you? But of the people surveyed in this Performance in Mind research, a staggering 44.7% did display some behaviour that showed that they're addicted to exercise. However, if we delve a little deeper, we did fare slightly better than triathletes in this.
Not surprising.
Not surprising at all. So triathletes were up at 46.7%, and we are at 39.6%.
That's still pretty high though, isn't it? So you might well be wondering then whether you are addicted to exercise. To know, you will of course need to know actually what exercise addiction is and then how it presents itself.
Well, I can tell you the exact definition, Si, of obsession with exercise and addiction. It's when a beneficial activity becomes pathologically excessive. It's not really a surprise though when you consider the fact that when you exercise it releases hormones in the forms of endorphins and also dopamine, which are exactly the same neurotransmitters released when you do drugs.
Yeah, and so you could see then that when you stop exercising, these neurotransmitters also stop, and therefore an addict would feel compelled to exercise again to release those chemicals. So what then are the warning signs?
Well, I've got a checklist for you, Si, because I think you might be an addict, so we'll tick these as we go along. Number one, when the person uses exercise to modify their mood.
Yeah, I do that.
Yeah, you do that, and you haven't exercised today, have you? Number two, when they require increasingly higher doses.
Yeah, that's me.
Tick. Number three, gets frustrated at the risk of missing a session.
Well, I don't call them sessions anymore. But
You
yeah,
do call them sessions. You went out on an interval session yesterday at lunchtime at work.
it was a ride. But yeah.
Let's move on. Number four, see psychological changes when trying to withdraw.
Well, I stopped trying, but yeah.
Finally though, and this is the tipping point apparently, Si, when the exercise compulsion is prioritised to the detriment of your social relationships, your work life and your family life. That's another tick right there.
God.
Yeah, hang your head in shame. Go to therapy.
Well, I mean, you managed to successfully withdraw from exercise addiction. How did you do it?
Well, I didn't even need to try actually, because I think what it comes down to is the fact that we're just very different people. Personally, I think I'm far more at risk of becoming obsessed with the data side of things. So for example, GPS data, or even the power data, or getting KOMs on Strava, for example, because I'm very goal oriented. And when I set a goal, I can become very obsessed until I achieve it.
You must have set yourself some weird goals then, mate, I'll be honest.
Well, I have. I mean, I retired from professional cycling. I didn't ride my bike much for a good few months. Made a comeback to try and get the Strava KOM on a local single-track family trail. When I got that, I reduced my riding again.
You still got the KOM?
I have, yeah. If somebody goes and gets it, I might make another return.
There's a challenge. Right, now, as Dan was mentioning though, technology is actually adding fuel to the fire, according to that research. So things like fitness trackers or power data, or indeed exercise-focused social media, which you would think, like most forms of social media, is actually designed to make you want to use it, which you've got to say, I guess, for the vast majority of users of it, that's no bad thing, wanting to do a bit more exercise.
Well, yeah, there's worse things to be addicted to than exercise. I think you can say that much.
Oh, thanks, mate.
Now, there does seem to be a link between a higher usage of these fitness apps and a higher risk of addiction towards exercise. But what is unclear is whether these fitness apps are driving that addiction in the first place. However, when these researchers delved a little bit deeper, what does seem to be apparent is that if you're continually comparing yourself to another rider or riders or athletes on the fitness apps, it adds the stress and the pressure onto yourself, which ultimately can lead to reduced performances, ironically.
Yeah, I guess it always has to be put into some kind of context, doesn't it? I can't believe I'm saying this, but actually, cycling is not more important than family or friends.
Or family and friend, in your case, I'm only joking. I mean, even if you're Billy No Mates and have no friends at all, ultimately getting obsessed and addicted to exercise can lead to trying too hard, which can then lead to reduced performance through things like overtraining, for example.
Yeah, I did that.
Yeah, I did that too, believe it or not, once upon a time.
Really?
Back in my early 20s. It took me a while to come back. The other things that can happen are injury or just complete burnout.
That must have been you after that last King of the Mountains there. Now, this being cycling, there are, of course, additional risks above and beyond simply being addicted to exercise. I mean, for me, it's a double whammy. I am addicted to exercise, apparently, but I also really, really love riding my bike. I mean, the actual physical activity of riding a bike, and then also the adrenaline rush that comes with it, like riding off-road, and indeed the tech side of things. I mean, you know you've got a problem when you're late for a group ride because you're desperately trying to find the perfect weight of undervest.
Yes, or your favourite socks are still in the washing machine.
Yeah, you see that triathletes don't have to worry about that.
Yeah, that is very true. They've got it easy, triathletes, haven't they? Now, the likelihood is that many of you watching this will be showing some of the symptoms of being addicted to cycling. However, in reading the following 4 comments, we're all friends here, so let's not judge too much.
Too much.
No, we've taken a few of our favourites, starting with JBMB. When you get up earlier on the weekend to go for a ride than you do when you're going to work.
Yeah, fair point. Bob Ellis said, when your partner asks, how was your ride? Words, not numbers. Yeah, that's very true.
We've also got this from Yak Chiron. After moving back to France and the US, I started riding my bike so I could eat cheese.
Very good
that
reason.
might be an obsession with cheese though, mightn't it? Oh, actually, no, I've stopped eating cheese because the fat is hurting my riding. So he's solved his cheese addiction and he's now addicted to cycling and exercise, which is better.
Yeah, it is better, isn't it? Finally, we've also got a comment from John Day, who actually went as far as deleting all of his ride tracking apps, although he does say that he still records his distance, and that was in fact the focus of his year last year. And then to make matters worse, he also says that his bike is a permanent part of his living room decor. Yeah. Anyway, let us know in the comments section down below if you feel that you are indeed addicted to exercise.
Just like Si?
Yeah.
Or indeed just addicted to cycling.
Well, like me.
Yes, also like Si. If you would also like to get anything off your chest cycling-wise, don't forget to head over to the Global Cycling Network community page, which has not long been set up. A few of you will be aware of that, but if you're not, make sure you head over and take a look, because it is a place for you to get into anything like your latest epic ride or your latest hack and bodge, or to get advice on buying bikes and equipment, or indeed to just get some advice on your riding technique.
There might be a few people actually having a discussion on there about what your hair's doing with this tailwind.
We've got a tailwind, yeah, which I
we do.
normally like, but not with this hairstyle.
No. Anyway, make sure that you do get involved, as Dan said, and if you want to find it, you just simply search for Global Cycling Network Community on Facebook, or there's a cheeky little shortcut, a hack if you like. There's actually a link in the description beneath this video. I'm hoping the wind's going to gust now.
I hope not.
We've sent Si off to therapy, haven't we, to cure his addiction. Incidentally, we put a couple of polls up on Facebook and YouTube, and your answers there were quite interesting. Over 80% of you say that yes, you are addicted to cycling. Amongst them, Colin Saunders, who said yes, the bike is the only one that understands me.
I'll tell you what would be interesting. Do you reckon John Travolta's addicted to cycling?
Oh yeah, let's find out from John. An interesting response, as ever, from Mr. Travolta there, that being Chris Opie, of course. Right, before we finish with this part of the show, we want to read out a few of the comments underneath last week's show, where we asked you what you wish you'd known about cycling that you do now, that you didn't back when you started. Beginning with Alba Lad, who put that just because someone's got a £5 bike and wears expensive gear, that they aren't better than you at cycling.
True that. Point. Yeah, I agree. Great comment here from Tifoso, who writes, I wish I'd known press fit bottom brackets were coming, because that way I would have kept all my English threaded frames.
Yeah, you agree with that, don't you?
I do, yeah. I feel sorry for him.
And finally, this one from Lewis did make me chuckle. I wish I'd known that I wasn't going to get taller, then I wouldn't have bought a larger bike, hoping that I would grow into it. Got to feel sorry for Lewis there, haven't you?
I think I spent all my childhood riding a bike that was too big for me because of that exact reason.
It's now time for cycling shorts.
Geraint Thomas is still partying. Can you believe it? Not that I'm jealous or anything, but here's a picture of him pouring Quaremont beer after winning the Kortrijk course criteria in Belgium last week.
Well, he's got reason to party. He's even had a velodrome named after him.
Has.
So the Wales National Velodrome is now the Geraint Thomas National Velodrome.
To be fair, I've got a bank named after me,
Yeah.
and you've got a skateboard move named after you, haven't you?
What, a Bridgewood?
No, an Ollie. You joking?
No.
Oh.
I don't know anything about skateboarding. Anyway, he has admitted though that his rock and roll lifestyle is starting to take its toll. He tweeted this week, when you realise the damage you've done in just 2 weeks.
To be fair, I'm starting to realise the damage I've done over the last 6 years. It's not big, it's not clever, and it's most certainly not pretty. Moving on to some transfer news now. Tony Martin will be leaving Team Katusha at the end of this year. He'll be headed towards the Netherlands to Team Lotto NL Jumbo.
Yeah, good signing for them, considering, well, their relatively disappointing performance in the team time trial of the Tour de France this year. Other big transfer news is that Simon Geschke is going to be moving from Sunweb to Team BMC CCC, which is quite a surprising move.
It was a surprise, I
think. Because he's been a really strong ally to Tom Dumoulin, a very loyal domestique and an effective one. But also, it's his first real change of professional teams since the start as well.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, they've changed names, haven't they? But in effect, it's been the same team for his entire career so far. Right, our last piece of international pro racing news is the disappointment that Mikel Landa unfortunately will not be at the Vuelta a España this year. He, of course, crashed at the Clásica San Sebastian, fracturing a vertebrae, and he will not be recovering in time for the final Grand Tour. One rider who will be riding La Vuelta, though, is Monica Sattler.
yeah, she's hoping to ride the entire route of the race, and in doing so, is aiming to become the first woman to do so. She's going to be riding the entire 3,300 kilometres, starting on the 25th of August, the same day as the pro race starts. And, well, good luck to her, especially considering how early she's going to have to get up every day.
Well, that's right, yeah, because like you said, she is doing it on exactly the same day as the men, each and every one of the stages. So good luck to you, Monica. Before we finish with the Vuelta, one final plug for the special edition t-shirts available at shop.globalcyclingnetwork.com. They will come to you sans dandruff, which I've just seen on mine. Shop.globalcyclingnetwork. Oh, nice joke. Or one of these, which as you can see is our new GCN on Español t-shirt in the same colour as the Vuelta leader's jersey.
You did say that wrong though. It's GCN en Español.
Ah, almost as good as Oscar Puyol, my old teammate who's heading up that channel. So if you're Spanish speaking, make sure you head over there and check out their content because it's very good indeed. Let any of your Spanish speaking friends know we've got that too. Incidentally, Ollie has been a bit of a diva before we came on. He's been demanding a small and we've only got a medium for him to wear today, but we've been saying medium's fine, mate.
You reckon?
Yeah. Vote below. Right, we don't cover much of the domestic racing scene here in the UK on GCN, but we're going to make an exception this week because this week's National Team Time Trial Championships have been rather controversial.
It was. And for those of you who aren't familiar with the UK time trialling scene, it's huge. And consequently, this event is a big deal. There's plenty of riders who just do time trialling in the UK.
Such a big deal, in fact, that the initial second place finishers Team Bottrell later lodged a complaint against the Derby University team, who had apparently fielded a rider that was a second claim member, which is against the rules. Then it turned out that Team Bottrell were at risk of disqualification because one of their riders had entered multiple events on the same day, also against the rules. And then even in third place, Team Cambridge also had a second claim member, so risk disqualification too. It was a bit of a shambles, wasn't it?
Yeah, I mean, at present, we're not really sure who won, but we imagine that the fifth place team are already scouring the rule book to see what the fourth place team did wrong.
Yeah, can we get fifth place promoted to first place? We shall wait and see and let you know. Sticking with UK time trialling for a few more moments, the legendary aerodynamicist Mike Burrows is next month, going to attempt the human-powered bicycle speed record over in Nevada at the ripe old age of 75. Now that record currently stands at 89 miles per hour, but Burrows reckons that he can take that up to 93.
It's a phenomenal speed at any age.
It is.
Fair play.
We shall finish cycling shorts this week with a couple of bits of e-bike news that have come up on the Cycling Industry News website. First up, new anti-dumping laws here in the UK have had quite a severe impact on the import of e-bikes because it's made it a lot more expensive. Anti-dumping laws are put in place by the World Trade Organization, basically to prevent the importation of cheap goods from damaging markets. This has had a severe effect on certain companies such as Mission Cycles because they import disability e-bikes and e-trikes.
Yeah, such are the tariffs that Mission Cycles fears that it may actually go out of business. So let's hope it doesn't come to that. Now, secondly, also in e-bike news, the German Vehicle Association has come up with a system for measuring the range of e-bikes. Because there's nothing more annoying than when your battery runs out mid-ride on an e-bike.
No.
Well, you wouldn't know anything about it, I guess.
No, I wouldn't know anything about that. Yeah, you're basically riding a bike twice the weight without any extra assistance then, aren't you? And it's a little bit like when you buy a car, this range thing from the German Vehicle Association. When you buy a car and it's given a claimed miles per gallon, and then normally you realise after you've got it, the only time you're going to get close to that claim is if you're cruising down a hill, isn't it? You want to know the range of your e-bike properly.
Tell you what you haven't broken, that's a sweat. That's really impressive, mate.
Well, no, I did, but I've dried off since.
It's time now to show you our favourite 3 inspirational photos that you sent us over the last week. This is a segment which is brought to you by our sponsors Wiggle, so it's your opportunity to win either £50, £75 or £100 of Wiggle vouchers to spend on anything you want over on their online shop. So without further ado, this week's third place finisher who will receive £50 of Wiggle vouchers is
Klaus Commenda. And he's taken this photo at the top of the Thorong La Pass, which, right, and this is truly inspiring, is 5,416 metres high, which I just can't get my head around, to be honest. I mean,
no, that is very high. It's in Nepal, isn't it? But you must have some sense of achievement, Klaus, when you got up there. £50 on its way to you. In second place, you'll see we've got a bit of a gravel theme going on this week, is Lasse. This is a photo from the Norwegian bike route, Ralladegen, which is constructed for transportation of materials for building the most demanding part of the railway from Oslo to Bergen. And that looks like a beautiful part of the world to ride a bike.
So
I imagine it's quite chilly.
Yeah, Norway's top of my list, and that photo is, well, why?
I do want to go out and ride over in Norway looking at that photo. Right then, £100 of vouchers this week goes to
Thomas, who has his Cube Cross race from 2017, and he's posted this picture, which is from his first ever bikepacking adventure. He decided to go to the Blue Mountains just outside of Reykjavik. He set off pretty late and was surprised to see the sun setting under the clouds late in the evening. The whole day was cloudy, and then he took this photo at about 11:30 p.m.
That's beautiful, isn't it?
Yeah.
Again, makes you want to go out on a ride, which is exactly what this segment is all about. A reminder that if you'd like to get involved and put yourself in with a chance of winning a voucher, the hashtag on Instagram is GCN Inspiration, but we do also have our uploader now, which you can find a link to in the description below. We've taken a couple of photos from the uploader and one from Instagram this week. For Tech of the Week, we're going to head over to the workshop where we can see John Cannings. He will be doing the Tech News Show with Ollie later on this week.
Thanks, guys. Well, this week on the GCN Tech Show, we've got a new bike from Brompton. It's called the 9 Streets, and it's named after a real fancy part of Amsterdam called Negenstraatjes. This bike has got the most cool paintwork on it I've seen for a long time, so it's definitely worth checking out. Then we've got a Morse code bottle cage. Yep, I'm not going to tell you anything more about that, actually. You're going to have to tune in. Then we've also got, wait for this, a new gravel helmet. I've heard it all now. And then, not forgetting, screw riding upgrades, buy upgrades. And then the weekly talking point this week is how to lose as much weight off of your bike as possible. Make sure you join Ollie and I this Thursday.
It's now time for hack/bodge.
This week, we've got a correction from last week from one of our viewers, Helen Wilkie. That phone holder wasn't knitted, it was crocheted. Sorry to be pedantic, but this will be the only time I'll ever be able to correct something on GCN. I'd imagine you're right about the first part there, Helen, but certainly not the second part of your comment, because there are plenty of opportunities to correct us here at GCN, most days of most weeks, in fact. Right, on to this week's, Ollie.
Yeah, we've got this bike here from JB50, Jimmy Riddle 50 on Twitter, and he says, "Hi Dan, hacked Wombai chainring. He's got the outer Ultegra taken off, and he's put a couple of washers. Says it cost $4 Australian to lose 100+ grams, and he also says his hill climb bike was inspired by Ollie."
It was, yeah. He DM'd that to me, and so it was inspired by you. Although you say it could be quite dangerous. Because
Yeah. Well,
it's not a narrow, wide chain ring, is it?
Yeah, that's the one thing. You might drop your front chain ring a bit more because it's not a narrow, wide ring. So,
which, if you're sprinting up a hill, could be dangerous, couldn't it?
Yeah, or if you go over a bump and it bounces the chain up.
Ollie's worried about being sued from this because he was the inspiration behind this. Hack or bodge?
Well, when he dies, I don't want to be blamed.
Oh my goodness! This has never been so dark on the GCN show. Come on, gone from crochets and
bodge.
Okay.
Sorry.
Well, the next one's definitely a bodge. This came in from Fred on our uploader, spotted somewhere in California. Looks like they nicked him, doesn't it, frankly? You like this one, don't you?
Thrower Phil, yes. Right, he's got a USB battery charging point built into his handlebars.
We've agreed to disagree on this one because you like how neat. I can't help but think that once you've got a cable coming out of there and charging a head unit or a light, that's going to look much more of a bodge.
I think it's for people doing transcontinental and stuff. I think it's a hack. But we'll go
with you.
All right. Okay.
Another modification comes in from Racing George. Customised my own Oakleys. Let me know what you think. Well, I think they look rather snazzy, if I'm perfectly honest. That's a hack from me.
Yeah, it's a hack. It's cool. And now we have Arturo, who has etched his generic old crank arm and engraved it and turned what was an old component into something custom and new and pretty unique and cool. I think that's a pretty cool thing to do.
Again, something I could never do in my life, but yeah, I think that looks very trendy indeed. I could see that being ridden around London by a hipster. Right, next up, we have this from David. Fell off his motorcycle on the way to work recently and broke his fibula. He decided that he wants to get back on his bike whilst he's in his cast, and so he's modified a sandal / shoe and put a cleat on the bottom of it. And here's a video of him on his indoor trainer. Hack or bodge?
I don't know. That's commitment, isn't it? That is commitment.
You are addicted to cycling, David. Get yourself some help.
It's now time for the caption competition, and last week we had this photo of Michał Kwiatkowski winning the Tour of Poland.
This is your weekly chance to win a GCN Camelback water bottle, of course. Not winning the water bottle, but getting a notable mention from me, is Martin Kelly. Clearly not impressed with my caption effort last week. Caption, I use this contraption to cover my ears from Dan's horrendous captions and cover my eyes when Dan wears his horrendous white cycling shorts. However, please note my mouth is in no way covered for any Kofskis, and this stick is to beat him with next time he does something horrendous. Thanks for that, Martin. But our winner this week
is Sasha Tromsa, whose caption was, "Winning the Tour of Poland surely always was on Kwiato's bucket list."
See what you did there? Well done, Sasha. Get in touch with your address on Facebook and we'll get that bottle out to you as soon as possible. This week's photo comes from the Bink Bang Tour. This is Leonardo Basso with a punctured wheel. My caption this week is...
What you got for us?
I've got a good one.
Yeah.
So that's why they call you the head mechanic. Thought you'd like that. If you think you can do better, please leave your captions in the comments section down below. But I have to say, I'm impressed with my caption this week, and I hope that so too is Martin Kelly. Let me know.
I think that's the best one you've ever done. Before we let you know what's coming up on the channel this week, we have a few comments that have made us chuckle. So first up, we have Yoni Shaw. He's written, Travolta's quads make loose commuter shorts look like Lycra.
This is one of the City Cycling series, and that's Chris Opie. And yeah, that's quite funny, isn't it? Because they are rather tight-fitting on his rather humongous quads. Next, underneath this week's racing news show, Malte Brieska, who I've probably pronounced incorrectly, says, why do you pronounce C Classics as C Classics? Presumably it's Cy Classics. You don't call a cycle a sequel, do you? That's a very good point, Malte, and I will take note of that and try to correctly pronounce it in the future.
And then underneath, the GCN Rides the Maratona Climber versus Sprinter video, which is great. If you've not seen it, go check it out. Beeble 2003 wrote, I just took Miguel Indurain on the descent. Seriously, how cool is that?
Yeah, quote from the video, let's relive that moment now.
I thought I'd never get a new cycling achievement once I retired from racing, but I just overtook Miguel Indurain on the descent.
Right then, let's move on to what's coming up over the next 7 days here on the Global Cycling Network, starting on Wednesday, where we've got our big Vuelta a España GCN preview show with myself, Cy and Hank. I'll be going through the riders and the stages to watch out for. On Thursday, we've got Essential Skills for Beginner Cyclists. That's with me, Hank and Oscar. And then on Friday, it's a very special edition of Ask GCN Anything, because joining us here in GCN Towers is the now double winner of the Transcontinental, James Hayden. That should be really interesting. If you'd like to get your questions to him, use the hashtag TalkBack on Twitter or send a message in on Facebook.
Saturday, we have What to Wear for City Cycling. On Sunday, Cy catches up with Ed Pratt as he finishes riding around the world on a unicycle. Yeah. Monday is going to be the GCN Race News Show with Dan. And then Tuesday, we're back for the GCN Show, episode 294.
Yeah, can you believe it? Closing in on the big 300. Also coming up this week, we've got some bonus content coming from the Vuelta a España, because John Cannings, Mr. Tom Larson, and also Oscar Pujol are going to be there. The first two for our normal GCN channel, the second two for...
GCN en Español.
When I say the second two, I mean Oscar Pujol. Yeah. We shall finish the show as ever with Extreme Corner, and this week it is Nico Vink pulling off some pretty sick manuals. Them's some skills, aren't they? In all seriousness, absolutely incredibly impressive to be able to stay on your back wheel for that length of time. Mind-boggling.
Impressive stuff. It's now the end of the show though. But if you'd like to watch another video, then why not check out the GCN Rides the Maratona Climber versus Sprinter video I've already mentioned. You can just click down here.
Can you guess who won? Pooley or Travolta?